If you want to become a billionaire, the internet will give you the exact same recipe every single time. Wake up at 4 a.m., read 50 books a year, work 100 hours a week, and if you're feeling really brave, drop out of college. It worked for Bill Gates. It worked for Mark Zuckerberg. It worked for Steve Jobs. So, logically, if you copy their traits, you'll get their results, right? Wrong. In fact, following this advice is one of the statistically safest ways to ruin your life, because you're falling for a massive psychological trap that dates back to World War II. In the 1940s, the US military faced a massive problem. Their bomber planes were getting shot down at an alarming rate. The planes that did manage to fly back to base were riddled with bullet holes. The military mapped the damage and noticed a clear pattern. The wings, the fuselage, and the tail were always covered in holes. The generals made a totally logical decision. They decided to add heavy armor to the exact areas where the planes were getting hit the most, the wings and the tail. It made perfect sense. Until a mathematician named Abraham Wald walked into the room. Wald looked at the data and told the generals they were doing the exact opposite of what they should be doing. He asked a simple, chilling question. Where are the bullet holes on the engines? The generals realized their fatal mistake. They were only analyzing the planes that survived to make it home. If a plane got shot in the wings, it could sustain damage and still fly back. But if a plane got shot in the engine or the cockpit, it crashed into the ocean and was lost forever. The military was about to armor the wrong parts because they ignored the casualties. This is survivorship bias. And once you see it, you realize it distorts absolutely everything around you, especially the advice you consume daily. Let's go back to the billionaire dropouts. We praise them because they are the surviving planes that made it back to base with billions of dollars, but we completely ignore the quiet graveyard of hundreds of thousands of people who dropped out of college, ran out of money, and ended up stuck with massive debt and no degree. Zuckerberg didn't succeed because he dropped out. He dropped out because his software, FaceMesh, was already exploding and he had massive leverage. Copying his dropout status without having his unique leverage is like shooting yourself in your own engine. This bias even tricks you into thinking the past was better than it actually was. Think about when people say they just don't build things like they used to. Look at these old houses. They stand for centuries. But that's a lie. The millions of cheaply built, poorly ventilated, structurally terrible houses from the 1800s have already collapsed or been demolished. You only see the top 1% of buildings that were so exceptionally well made and expensive that they survived. You are comparing the absolute best of the past with the average of today. The survivor, what you see, versus the graveyard, what you miss. The viral fitness influencer versus 95% of people who tried the same routine and got injured. The smash hit classic song versus thousands of terrible 80s songs completely forgotten. The successful local restaurant versus 60% of restaurants that close in their very first year. So how do you avoid this trap in your own life, career, or business? By training your brain to look for the missing bullet holes. Rule number 1. Stop reading billionaire biographies. Success is highly chaotic, deeply dependent on timing, and flooded with luck. Instead, spend your time reading postmortems. If you want to open a cafe, do not interview the most successful cafe owner in the city. They will tell you it's about passion. Instead, find 3 people who went bankrupt running a cafe. The reasons for success are random, but the reasons for failure are almost always identical, structural, and entirely preventable. This brings us to rule number 2. Build an anti-routine. We are obsessed with copying the routines of geniuses. But trying to replicate Elon Musk's 100-hour work weeks will likely just break your mental health. Instead, use inversion. Look at the people who completely ruined their careers or businesses in your field. Make a list of their exact habits, toxic environments, zero focus, horrific sleep, and arrogance. It is statistically much easier to win in life by simply avoiding guaranteed stupidity than it is to chase fleeting genius. Rule number 3, always hunt for the hidden variable. When a viral content creator or young founder tells you they built an empire from nothing using just this one simple strategy, do not blindly copy their strategy. Look for the invisible safety net they aren't talking about. Did they have a financial cushion? Did they have zero dependence? Did they have an elite network? Never copy a high-risk strategy unless you possess the exact same hidden shock absorbers to survive the crash. The ultimate shift in your mindset is this: success leaves clues, but failure leaves blueprints. The top 1% can tell you how they won the lottery, but the 99% who failed will tell you exactly how the game is rigged, where the traps are laid, and how to stay alive. Stop armoring your wings. Protect your engine. See you in the next video.